ما در شهر کوپن هاگن کشور شاهی دانمارک هستیم، شهری که از هزاران کیلومتر از وطن دور هستند. افغانای ما در جمع دانمارکی ها و میمانای که از سایر کشورها آمدن دست به دست هم داده صدای افغان های ما را، صدای زن افغان، دختر افغان به گوش جهانیان رساندن. یکی از ویژگی‌هایی که بود به زبان انگلیسی دانمارکی میمانا صحبت کردند و احساس خود با هم نوان خود شریک ساختن، به این معنا که پیامی که از خانم‌های افغانستان بود او را با جهانیان شریک ساختن. برای معلومات بهتر ما می‌خواهیم که یک تن از مسئولین برنامه را با شما معرفی کنیم که از خودشان می‌شیم که خود به معرفی بگیره. شما در کوتاه اگر خود به معرفی بگیرید.
تشکر. اسم من تهمینه سالک است. من یکی از بنیادگذارای انجمن دکدیف هستم و همچنان پری. انجمن دکدیف به خاطر حقوق زن افغان کار میکنه در دانمارک و در سایر اروپا و همچنان پری یک ارگانیزیشن است که کمک‌های اقتصادی به مردم افغانستان میکنیم، کمک میکنیم که اونا به پای خود استاد شوند، دکانا باز کنن، یک کاروبارشان بشه.
اول خود بسیار تشکر میکنم از شما، از فامیلیتان که شما قدر شدین که صدای مردم افغانستان در بیرون میکشین به خاطر یکی از عوارضی که در بیرون کشور است که اکثرا جوانا در یک مسیر روان هستند که و نمیفهمن که چه کنه. از شما از خانواده‌تان تشکر که شما اینقدر کارهای بزرگ میکنین. این انجمن از چقدر وقت میشه تأسیس شده و ابتکاری کی بوده، چقدر اعضا داره؟
انجمن در سال 2021 در جنوری تأسیس شد. او وقت به خاطر دلایل بود که میخواستیم از خانم‌های افغانستان در پست‌های بهتر ریاست کمک کنیم. امروز متاسفانه از خاطر وضعیت افغانستان مقصد اصلی ما این است که مبارزه که در خود افغانستان جریان داره، زنای افغان مبارزه میکنن، اونا را حمایت کنیم. 5 نفر در خود اعضای به حساب رهبری هستیم و تعداد ممبرای ما یا عضو هنوز چون تازه به حساب باز کردیم که دوستا بتونن حمایت کنن و عضو انجمن شون 55 است، اما امید داریم که بیشتر شود چون 3 ماه میشه که اجازه دادیم که عضو شوند دوستا.
چقدر عالی. شما را کی حمایت میکنه و چی شرایط داره و همچنان مخفف اسم را که انتخاب کردین به چی معنی است؟
دکدیف اسم دنمارکیش که باشه دنسک او گنس کوینه او دیاسپورا فوروم که یک فوروم از زنای افغان دنمارکی است به معنای می است و حمایت ما فعلا خود ماستیم از افغانا به افغاناست. این کنفرانس امروز البته از طرف سازمان کمک به پناهندگان دنمارک یا دنمارکی به نام European Council on Refugees and Exile اکره که در بروسل است از طرف از حمایت شده.
چقدر عالی. کاراتون ما در برنامه هم دیدیم و از شما تشکر او را با بیننده خود شریک می‌سازیم. پلان‌های شما چی است که در آینده چی کار دیگه در نظر دارید؟
اولش تشکر. پلانا در لیستش زیاد است و این کنفرانس خودش یک کوشش به می است که همه دوستایی که میخواین به خاطر افغانستان کار کنن که امروز بسیار مشورای خوب داده شد، مثلا مکاتب آنلاین باز کنیم، مثلا مبارزه که در به خانم‌ها وجود داره شروع شده در خود افغانستان، این جوای مختلف زنایی که در خارج از کشور خارجی دنمارکی اروپایی را اونا را با هم کنیم، هم صداتر شویم، هم صدای از اونا را بهتر برسانیم. پس یکی از کارهایی که ما می‌خوایم بکنیم همین مکتب‌های آنلاین است، باز کردن رسانه‌های آنلاین به خاطر که قسمی که شما خودتان می‌فهمین متاسفانه در افغانستان آزادی بیان وجود نداره و بسیار رسانه‌ها بسته شده. پس اگه بتونیم یک رقم امو صداهایی که در افغانستان بلند شده را از طریق یک میدیا در اینجا پیشکش کنیم.
چقدر عالی. شما که در یک جامعه زندگی می‌کنین که اینجا اکثرا روحی ضد خارجی است، این راز موفقیت چی از بخاطر که بسیار دنمارکی علاقه گرفتن اونا آمدن شما را حمایت میکنه و طرز برخورد و حمایت اونا با شما چطور است؟
به نظر من تا حال اگر بگوین راز موفقیت راستش به این است که امو کسایی که سازمانایی که میخواین به خاطر حقوق بشر بجنگن، امو سیاستمدارایی که تعدادشان کم کم است اما اصلا در پارلمان دانمارک است. همراه از ما مستقیم ما به تماس شدیم و امو گروپی که میفهمیم حمایت میکنن اونا را به حساب با هم خود هم صدا میسازیم و یک نتورک درست میکنیم و مهمتر از همه است که توسط حرف زدن در مورد این مشکلات زنا کسایی که شاید به ضدشان باشه آیسته آیسته میتونیم در نظرشان تغییر بدیم و میتونیم که از به ضد بودن همراه بودن بسازیم.
شما با وجودی که زندگی مرفه دارین در بیرون کشور زندگی میکنین اما تا جایی که دیده شده وقتی که نام از افغانستان میشه زن افغانستان میشه بی اختیار اشکتان گرفته نمیتونین. این از کجا می احساس بر شما؟
خب سخت است که بگویم از کجا میاد چون من خودم اصلا اول یک دختر افغان هستم و در ضمن همچنان در دانمارک بودیم 22 سال. پس افغانیتم ای که پدر مادرم تاریخ دارند در افغانستان بزرگ شدن در افغانستان هرچی نباشه میگن وطن است.
بله.
کشش البته او گپم است که یک دمو چکلان شده ما گرچه که در 22 سال از دانمارک آمدیم اما یک مقدار زندگی ما در خود افغانستان هم بوده. فامیل داریم درک ما بیشتر است البته و من تنها نیستم همه افغانای ما که زیاد از نام خدا امی احساس دارند.
واقعا احساس شما قابل قدر است و همونطور خواره ما که داخل وطن است صدای شما را میشنوه احساس شما را تحمیل جان داره. شما چی پیام یا گفتنی دارین بر شما؟
پیام ما به افغانای ما در داخل افغانستانی است که من میفهم واقعا سخت است روزگار اما ما تنها نمیگذاریمتان. ما تا حد توان خود هم صدایتان میشیم و کوشش خود میکنیم که دنیا فراموش نکنن افغانان.
چقدر عالی. با وجودی که ما به اینا افتخار میکنم براتون موفقیت آرزو میکنم رایتان روشن باشه. بسیار تشکر.
از شما تشکر که آمدین برنامه ما را پوشش دادین.
زنده باشین. تشکر. بیننده عزیز برنامه را تا آخر با ما ببینین. موضوعاتی که بود با شما شریک میسازیم لطفا نظریات و پیشنهاداتتون با ما شریک بسازید. ما خود معرفی میکنیم.
فرام مصطفی هستم به اصطلاح از افغانستان و فعلا آواره.
خداوند شما را آواره نسازه دوباره با آغوش وطن بین و تشکر که شما تانستین صدای هموطنان و هم نوان خود به گوش جوانان برسانید. شما در برنامه امروز چی چیزا را مطرح کردید؟
بسیار عالی. ما فکر میکنم یک فرصت خوب یک استیج خوب برای ازی بود که تمام وقایعی که در مدت یک سال بر زنای افغانستان خصوصا دخترای افغانستان از بند بودن مکاتب گرفته تا پایمال شدن تمام حقوق انسانی و فطریشان آمده بود یعنی واقعیت عینی افغانستان ما اینجا مطرح کردیم و مسائلی که دیگر جهان به عنوان کسایی که خودبانی حقوق بشر میگیرن و نیابت از عدالت و برابری میزنن به یا آمدیم و مسائل را مطرح ساختیم که افغانستان جدایی از مسئله از یک جغرافیای جدا از اروپا و امریکا است یک جغرافیای آسیایی است باید مد نظر داشته باشند و از منظر یا از دریچه انسانی به افغانستان نگاه کنند. مسائل سیاسی را نباید روشن اندازی باشه برای مسئله زنای افغانستان به خصوص این که امروز در قرن 21 زن افغانستان فقط صدا بلند میکنه در سرکای افغانستان به خاطر کوچکترین حق ابتداییش که عبارت از نان و کار یا مثلا آزادی های در حد شرعی است برای ازی فریاد میزنه. اما در جهان دیگر ما میبینیم که زنایی که مبارزه کردن فعلا میخواین که حقوق مساوی و برابر و متعادل با مردان اون جامعه داشته باشه. این تفاوت آمدیم اینجا بیان ساختیم تا اینکه کسایی که مثلا سردمداران حقوق مساوی زن و مرد هستند و خصوصا کشورهایی که زیر ربط است در امور افغانستان امروز خو اعضای پارلمان دانمارک اینجا حضور داشتن. طبیعتا مسائل افغانستان که عبارت از واقعیت عینی است انتقال میتن و در مورد افغانستان با مسئله بشری نگاه میکنن و این گروهی که فعلا حاکم هستند را به عنوان یک گروه تروریستی واقعی باید بشناسن و کسایی که در بیرون از طالبان نیابت میکنن یا لابیگری میکنن باید این مسئله را بدانن که هرگاهی که بروند در سرکای افغانستان و مجبور باشن هر لحظه با شلاق طالب روبرو باشن با پایمال شدن تمام حقوقشان باز میتونن این مسئله را یا به اصطلاح این معضل زن افغانستان را درک کرده باشن.
درست. شما گفتن که از پارلمان هم اشتراک داشتن. چگونه ارزیابی میکنن محفل امروزی را؟
از پارلمان اعضای پارلمان زنایی که در پارلمان اعضای پارلمان دنمارک هستند حضور داشتن و اینا مسائل افغانستان را از قبل هم میدانستن و کسایی بودن اینجا که مسائل را آنچه که بود انتقال داده بودن. اونا طبیعتا میدانستن که دروازه های مکتب بسته است، زنا آزادی گشت و گذار بدون محرم ندارند و مسائل فقر دامنگیری مردم افغانستان شدن. اینا گفتن که نمیخوایم که ما هم کوشش میکنیم که افغانستان سرلوحه اخبار جهان باشه و مثل که همین دغدغه زن افغانستان است که مسئله اوکراین یا جنگ‌های دیگه نباید افغانستان از آجندای جهان بیرون بسازه. اینا کوشش های خود میکنن و این مسئله را ما یادآور شدیم که نباید طالبان را به عنوان یک حکومت یا یک اداره که بتونه در افغانستان برای مدت طولانی باشه نپذیرند.
بسیار تشکر از شما، لطف کردین چون برنامه شروع میشه براتون موفقیت آرزو میکنم.
Thank you for being here tonight or this afternoon. My name is Zora Faisi and I will be your facilitator tonight or this evening.
Thank the Dakdif and Perry organization and also the DRC for supporting this event. I was so emotional after Tamina Jan's speech, and then I was lost to thank both organizations that she's running and also the DRC supporting this very important event that we are here tonight. So thank you so much for that. And my question is that, as I mentioned, my organization is in Afghanistan. Currently, we are working in 19 provinces of Afghanistan. It's so difficult to convince the de facto to get the chance for women to get out. And we all know that economical empowerment is the key at this moment to support women and support their families. What kind of program except the tailoring? What kind of income-generating activities you think women can do in Afghanistan, which we can market here in Europe? Because tailoring is not the only solution over there. And anytime you go to the de facto asking that you have a project to empower women, they are asking you to give them just tailoring. So that's not the solution. Do you have any idea, because you mentioned that you can create jobs, any type of things that we can do through the fundraising, through Perry, through Tamina John groups or any other groups that women can do some things that at the end of the day we can market for them. Thank you so much.
Great speeches. So I have a question, a little bit the same, but still maybe as an ordinary citizen in Denmark and as a company in Denmark. What is it that we can do to empower the women in Afghanistan?
It is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Miss Charlotte Slinte, who is Secretary General of the Danish Refugee Council. She comes from a long career in the Royal Danish Ministry of Foreign Affairs and has held multiple senior management posts central to Denmark's development and humanitarian policy. She has also served high-level diplomatic posts, including Undersecretary of State for Global Politics and Security, as well as Undersecretary of State for Consular Affairs. Please welcome Miss Charlotte Slinte.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and a very, very warm welcome to all of you this afternoon. We are here at DRC extremely pleased to support the Danish Afghan Women in the Diaspora Forum, the Dakdif, and the Public Awareness for Relief, Equality and Impact Parade for this extremely timely event and conference, which is named Afghanistan 1 year after the Taliban takeover. Afghan women as change agents. We see that vast humanitarian and development needs actually predate the IEA takeover in August of last year. And in my visit to Afghanistan last April of this year, I witnessed myself the devastating decline in people's ability to meet their very, very basic needs. I also saw how the human rights situation, particularly for women and girls, has regressed. Girls' access to school, women's rights to work, and other very hard-fought wins over the years, the majority led by Afghan women and girls themselves, have very rapidly diminished. In the immediate aftermath of the takeover of the Taliban regime, Afghans and the wider international community harbored shared fear and faced a feeling of distinct uncertainty. Afghan women and girls were rightfully afraid of their own futures, including also their physical safety. Initially, there was a degree of optimism or hope, such as when the IEA stated in late 2021 that girls would be allowed back in secondary schools by March of this year. However, as we all know, just a few days before the planned reopening of schools for girls, the IEA backtracked, and today access to education remains non-existent for millions of girls in Afghanistan. The predictions of many Afghans about the threats to other rights of women and girls became, unfortunately, a reality. And indeed, in the last week, several schools tried to reopen in the central area, but were again immediately closed. As we see a situation where the media is increasingly censored with reports of abuses left uncovered, we actually do face a very harsh reality for people in Afghanistan, but especially for women and girls. The takeover and its aftermath have also been transformative for the Afghan diaspora, with very many civil society leaders being forced to leave Afghanistan and arriving in Europe. There has been a new mobilization with Afghan women at the forefront to support evacuation and relief assistance on the ground, as well as advocacy initiatives. Many of you know of our diaspora project support, the DIPS, that offers capacity development and funding opportunities for Afghan diaspora organizations in Denmark, and have done so since 2010. We are also working to document diaspora humanitarian engagement towards Afghanistan, and that's an effort that is led by the Diaspora Emergency Action and Coordination Initiative, the DMAC initiative. And since 2018 here in DRC, we have scaled up our support to the Afghan diaspora by providing space for them in Europe to exchange and also advocate for their rights. We have organized many events, including 2 European Afghan diaspora conferences, and we'll have our next diaspora training this coming month of November. In Afghanistan, although the challenges remain quite significant and very daunting, particularly for women and girls in Afghanistan, DRC remains very much committed to delivering urgent assistance into Afghanistan. We have in DRC around 1,000 colleagues in Afghanistan. We are back to work in the 18 provinces of the country where we worked before the takeover last August. And we have province by province been fighting for the possibility of women staff to return to the workplace, both when it comes to offices but also in the field, which is a precondition for our ability to deliver to Afghan women and girls in the field. So actually we have a little over 120 staff of our staff who are women at the present time. Our support for this event is part of DRC's long-standing commitment and believe in the diaspora's both vital role and very important role in supporting the communities in their countries of origin. It's very inspiring here to witness and lend our support to you and others in the Afghan diaspora who make very essential contributions to the protection and engagement in constructive humanitarian work and advocacy. So I hope that you will have with this event a very fruitful afternoon and evening, and I look very much forward to our continued partnership to support the efforts to promote and uphold human rights of Afghans and the humanitarian support to Afghans in Afghanistan. Thank you very much.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. I have been one of the earliest member of Dakdif, which is Danish Afghan Women and Diaspora Forum. So it's an honor to introduce our next speaker, who is the chairperson of Dakdif. She's also co-founder and leader of PARI, which also works for Afghanistan. So please welcome Tahmina Salik.
Thanks a lot. I'll be completely honest, I haven't prepared much for the speech. I had a lot of different things to take care of, but I'm so happy and grateful that I see so many beautiful faces in this conference, because it means a lot for us, the Afghan women diaspora and the Dakdif team. As it was said, my name is Tahmina Salik, and I will start with talking about introducing Dakdif and PARI. So who are these two organizations? Dakdif was established in January 2021. At that time, the purpose was that we have to help Afghan women be more in the leadership posts, more of them in at the government, you know, very big ambitions. At that time, it didn't seem unrealistic. Unaware of that just a year later, actually only half a year later, Dakdif existence will be so important. And we shifted from that ambition to fighting for Afghan women rights, basic rights, you see? Because as you know, Taliban came and they ripped women from all their rights, basically. In February, I traveled to Afghanistan to meet with some of the amazing Afghan women that I was following sorry. So sorry. Just a sec. If I'm already from the beginning of the speech doing this, good luck to me. To meet with the Afghan women rights activists and find ways how we can support them. So when I was back, Dakdif's focus was entirely this. And it's very limited what we can do. And when I asked them in Afghanistan, some of them are here today, Farajan, who I met in Afghanistan this February, they didn't ask me for much, you know. The only thing they were asking was that you guys have a voice, use it. Don't let the world forget us. And that's what all of us, the Afghan diaspora, basically have been doing a lot in the last 1.5 years. So, PARI. PARI is an organization that when I traveled to Afghanistan, I had some fundraising between friends, they wanted to help, so I took this money, went to Afghanistan, and then we realized that instead of giving money to people, we need to help them earn their own. And that's how PARI was born. So what we do in PARI is our ideology is sustainability, and we try to help families establish their own micro businesses so they can provide themselves and their families. So far we have helped 8 families only, but 8 is still many because they are helping they have like bigger family kids. And this is a good start, and we are hoping we can support more by establishing their businesses. And then I thought a lot, what else should I say that you don't know? I think all of us know the situation of Afghan women. So I decided, let me read a part of my diary that when I was back from Afghanistan, I wrote. And this is to my Afghan sisters. My dear Afghan sisters, it's in the walk in a sunny day when the fresh breeze of air makes me smile that I think of you. It's in the late night drive in a bright summer night when my car is filled with the tone of my favorite music that I think of you. It's in the end of the day when I rest my head in my pillow that I think of you. It's in all those moments when I'm touched by the peace of life, and all those moments when I feel empowered or feel that I am, that I think of you. Your memory makes my heart ache and my body feels heavy. So heavy that I can barely move. Time stops, and for a moment in time I feel I'm nor here nor there, or maybe here and also there. I see, sorry, my eyes are a little blurry. I see myself wandering in the streets of Afghanistan next to you, gently holding your hand and hugging you, both our hearts filled with sorrow that can be felt in our bones. I see how you're surrounded with toxicity, how you're being strangled while you gasp for air, but in that moment of time, you say one more time, food, work, freedom. I see the pain mixed in your moist eyes, but you don't let the drops fall down, and with all your power you shout once again, education, education, and yet again education. I see how your hands are tired of writing slogans and your pen losing color, but with the color of your blood you write yet another slogan. Women rights are human rights, and human rights is women rights. I see his gun pointed at you, while the journalists are taking photos. And the cars are driving by, and the crowded streets of Kabul. I see how time freezes around you, and everything moves in slow motion. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is how it all ends. But then you roar loud while you nod your hand and raise, looking the Messiah of darkness in his eyes. And you shout one more time, move. I want my rights and nothing less. The echoes of your voice shakes the sleepless conscience while they make a turn from one side to another and sleep on. All those promises of standing by you and by your side falls as raindrops around you and disappears in the depth of the ground. I could be you and you could be me. But I guess I can see I got lucky while you didn't. This luck fills me with guilt, while at the same time I feel blessed. It's a paradox few of us knows. Few of us who has been able to flee that life in horror. I'm not sorry that I was one of the ones who got out. I'm just sorry why you didn't. But one thing I promise you is we will reach victory. And therefore, I'm deeply grateful to see all of you, and it means a lot to me. I'm so sorry. That we are here together and trying to find ways how we can support the amazing, brave fight that Afghan women are doing. Thanks a lot. I hope the rest of the conference will be less teardrops, and thanks for coming once again.
I have no word to say. This is the situation of Afghanistan and Afghan women and all around the world. So there is nothing to say. This is the situation. Our next speaker is one of, I want to be honest, one of my favorite one. I am so honored that she's here today. She's one of the strong activists I've known in my life. She has, she's the founder of Voice of Afghan Women organization, or Voice of Women organization. The organization worked in secret until 2001 because education was banned during Taliban by de facto, and now it's the same. So Voice of Women was named an official NGO in 2001, and in 2002 it was officially registered with the government of Afghanistan, which provides direct protection for at-risk women and girls in Afghanistan. The founder is none other, Soraya Pogzad. She's here.
I would like to even speak without a microphone, because I try to raise voices of women, and so our voices should be loud enough. I hope you are hearing me. So after such a emotional speech, that women in Afghanistan are suffering, not only facing domestic violence and also the rights of Afghan population as a whole, and women and girls specifically being violated and almost dismantled. The Ministry of Women Affairs, including its provincial department and Afghan Independent Human Rights, were demolished, even with initial promises that women are allowed to work under the Sharia law, including study, work, and freedom of speech. Unfortunately, they systematically excluded from public life. We are aware that while violence against women policies are adapted, and they are badly impacted women's rights in Afghanistan, and it has restricted them from movement, and deprivation from income generating. For me, it is history repeating. The same things that I remember in the 2000 as an Afghan woman human rights activist who lived in war and witnessed the hardship of women and girls for decades. Leaving Afghanistan was not an easy decision for me. I remember the time in 1996 to 2001, as you mentioned, under the Taliban regime, Afghanistan was entirely forgotten by the international community, pretty much the same as the present situation. Girls' education was completely banned. I found myself obliged to fulfill my duty, my moral duty, to open girls' school, and then I created Voice of Women organization, where my struggle was to educate girls secretly, underground school at my home, and constantly being under fear and can be punished. Today, Voice of Women organization continues its support for women and girls for Afghanistan, where over the past 2 decades, we provided safe haven, legal aid services, access to justice, and education for women and girls in Afghanistan. Despite all the challenges that we are going through since August 2001, our operation hasn't changed much, our team remained in the country through all of the crisis and continued to deliver the much needed and supported to women and girls in Afghanistan, because we are committed to support them. And of course, without the help of our donors and supporters, we cannot do anything, because no one can succeed alone. As I speak with you, thousands of families are internally displaced and they are in dire conditions. And significant portion of the population try to get out of Afghanistan and risking their lives to the neighboring country. Psychological problem, forced and child marriages, and many types of domestic violence can be seen widely among those camps and those families. Because the economy is collapsing, there is no recognized government to provide the basic services to the displaced population in the country, and in such a difficult situation for the people. And people cannot wait for political settlement or any decision can happen. I read in a Guardian article that there is Afghan people are eating grass to survive. And this is something that doubled my concern for the future of my country, which is worsened day by day in Afghanistan. I'm taking the opportunity through this podium to request the international community to extend their help and extend their attention and support to Afghan people. Afghan women need now more than any time. Every intervention, regardless of its size, it's matter to sustain our future. As we all know, women and girls are facing a high level of danger, and the safety of women's rights, human rights, must be an absolute priority for the international community. And there is an urgent need for an institution or a kind of organization to support women's rights in Afghanistan, because there is no any address currently to support women, and women should refer to those institutions. I'm calling the international community to make sure support to Afghanistan should be flowing, and all support must set a condition to reach women and families in danger. Every aid to Afghanistan must provided to the de facto must be provided in a condition to meet the need of the community. International community must have a kind of program to put pressure on the government, to the de facto, to let women, their voices to be heard, to go back to their all walks of life, and then let the girls to return to school. And also the international community must monitor what's going on in Afghanistan, because access to justice for women and girls facing violence is a big question right now. There is no place for them to go. International community should aggressively encouraging the Taliban to create an inclusive government with the participation of women for future of Afghanistan. I think it is the time that the international community use its power to put pressure on the de facto government to fulfill its society, its responsibility, and provide necessity services to its citizens. And also, more importantly, that the donor country should support the civil society organization, women's-led organization, women's movement in Afghanistan, and the diaspora to provide services to their people, and those kind of support must be multiple, flexible, and continuous. And also public awareness, some things that we have to do that through the whole, any podium that we have access, any power and pressure we can use, we have used for advocacy to put pressure on the de facto government to return to their commitment, because they're already committed that they are providing a space for women to work. But unfortunately, up to now, those commitments are not fulfilled, and women in Afghanistan. I think again it is mentioned in one of the news I read. Afghanistan is against the worst place for women to live. So let's work together to push the gender equality forward. Thank you.
Let's put together and focus on gender equality. This is amazing remarks by the end of your speech, Ms. Soraya Poxad. Now we have had 3 speeches. First of all, we have, it's so pleasure to see there are coming more and more people. There are some seats here if you want to come here, so I think there's some space if you want to join. We have had some speeches about Afghanistan and Afghan women's situation, but we need to know more, and that's why we have our first panel, which is on the situation in Afghanistan post-Taliban and impacts on women and girls. We have an amazing moderator, Mona Hosseini. Please welcome her. Mona is also Afghanistan desk officer and in Folkebernadette Academy in Sweden. I couldn't pronounce it, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you for giving the stage for me. Hello everyone. Good afternoon. As been mentioned, the 2 days discussion is about the situation of human rights, especially women's rights in Afghanistan. The session which we are going to discuss is the situation of Afghanistan and its impact on the women and girls. We will have 3 panelists in discussion, so all the panelists are from Afghanistan and they have the deep knowledge of work and living in Afghanistan in different aspects of peace process, education and peace building. As Tahmina Jan also said, first Tahmina Jan started and my soul still is in Kabul, and when she was crying we couldn't stop crying, and I hope I also don't cry during the session and we must focus on the strategic things. Since taking power in August 2021, the Taliban has continued to undermine women's human rights in policy and practices, codifying systematic gender-based discrimination and imposing a variety of restrictions on access to education and healthcare, and freedom of movement and rights to participate in political and economic life. As a special reporter of human rights on Afghanistan, Mr. Richard Bennett in the Human Rights Council mentioned that women in Afghanistan have faced severe discrimination throughout history and specifically since the Taliban takeover. With that background, in today's panel discussion, we are going to look further into the situation of Afghanistan post-Taliban takeover and impact of on the women and girls. We will have 3 panelists, so I would like to just introduce the first panelist. I think we can invite them in same space, or by one we can. So one by one is better because there is not so much place. So I would like to introduce Mrs. Farah Mustafavi. Mrs. Farah Mustafavi
have educated during 20 years of republic in our country. Then I am coming to answer for your question. And I want to say I am very appreciative of Tahmina Jan. Tahmina is an active woman that she struggled for Afghanistan women without any benefits. just want to help Afghan diaspora and also the protest women of Afghanistan without anything. Thank you to invite me here. Women groups in Afghanistan from beginning to today. In the last few months, Ghani's authoritarian regime was completely collapsing, and the feeling that something was happening had caused a number of social activists to have significant doubts. The unconventional appointment of Ghani government, the Doha peace talk, which were everything but negotiations. The appointment of the negotiation team based on the relation of the people in the power circle of Ghani were a sequence of the phenomena that made the state coup and the commitment to change impossible to the last be ready. On the day, it's better to say the damn day of Afghanistan, I, with a number of friends, witnessed the collapse of the situation in Kabul and had long walks during the night to encourage the girls and the women to come out from their homes to face and emerge with the Taliban and say we are present as the part of an important part of the society, especially Afghanistan society. The declarations by media from Taliban, the terrible presence of the fighters whose faces were filled with fear, the escape of the Americans, which was with machine guns fire and non-stop flights, the end of 20 years of Afghan, scarified by Afghans, and mistakes of the Americans with the appointment of the elite foreigner, such as Ghani's and Karzai's, were announced. On the second day, under the pretext of Pakistan direct aggression, we held a demonstration to gauge the pulse of the Taliban. As expected, the street demonstration was the best time to uncover the lies of this group, I mean Taliban. In the following days, the first government official and non-governmental office did not allow women to attend, and again the wave of lies by the group's media beginning under various reasons. Women's demonstrations became more massive with the gathering of more female employees who lost their jobs, which angered the group even more. During this day, the meeting of women's group increased and kind of coherence was formed between the small groups, which made the demonstration more organized and resulted to homogeneous stand in different places. In the days when those close to the ruling apparatus of the Republic were bitterly waiting to escape at the gate of Kabul, unfortunately, including the women that they were the part of negotiations. Afghan women was in the forefront of shaping the women movement in order to not allow exclusion of women from their social life. Today, the brave ones who raised their voices showed the world that Afghan women stood alone against the worst and the most brutal terrorist group in the world and structured the first civil struggle against the Moor operation of the Taliban for the first time without proposal and without project. Afghanistan women showed that they are standing on their own feet. What have achieved so far? Today, the ilahas can be hid inside the created structure following to saying no against the Taliban, who started kidnapping and raping Afghan girls and women. Today, the women have got the courage to stand against any type of Taliban operation and voice up, causing global reactions. Today, Afghan women are the group who stand against Taliban, which clear identity of Afghanistan women who fight for their rights and struggle for their rights also. In informal discourse, the question is always raised that Afghanistan is no longer important and may be forgotten from the top of the news and social presence in the global media and Western countries. My end call. Human rights organization, women rights defender, and activists, I here be to call you to stand with Afghan women, put pressure on male-centered policies to make decisions and stop genocide in Afghanistan. Terrorism cannot be accepted under any brand if Taliban, Al-Qaeda or Daesh, all are the same. Any lobby group from state to individuals must stop, and international lawmaker should recognize Taliban as terrorist group. Lobbying for them must recognizing as a crime against humanity.
Thank you, Ms. Mustafa. We just came to know about each other last night, and we just saw our pictures, and we were in same groups of protest and demonstration. So when she is talking, I can feel it from my heart, and I can feel what she's talking about and what she went through that. And it was very good because she precisely discussed about how women without any support can be united, and how women without any considering any ethnic group or religious aspects can be united. And this unity can lead to a really peaceful country and peaceful society. Thank you, Ms. Mustafavi. If you're comfortable, you can sit, and we will call you again for the questions. And yeah, and we will follow the session with our second panelist, Ms. Farida Amiri.
I'm here.
Yeah.